In this video, we will be talking about patterns from tables. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this set of figures here. And I have an input-output. So in figure number 1, which is what I'm using as my input, I have 2 colored squares. So my output is 2. In figure 2, I have 1, 2, 3. In figure 3, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And in figure 4, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this here is creating a pattern, and I'm sure you guys can see, but we're going to formalize that pattern today. So we can draw pictures to show the relationship in a table of values. So in this table, the input increases by 1 each time. So it's not written here, but every time I go down here, I add 1. And I add 1 again, and again, and again. And the output each time goes up by 3. So I like to say that it's adding 1 and adding 3. Although as long as you know that it's going up, that is good as well. And we could draw a pattern of triangles on triangle dot paper to represent this. So the figure number is the input, so figure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the output is the number of triangles in each one of my figures. So in the first figure, I have just the 1 green triangle. Figure 2, I add 3 triangles. So those are the orange or the red ones. In figure 3, I add another 3 triangles. Those are going to be the yellow ones. In figure 4, we add the 3 blue ones. And in figure 5, we add the 3 beige or peachy colored ones, depending on how you see that on your screen. So we can use a pattern rule to describe this relationship between the 2 columns. So this pattern rule tells us the numbers and the operations in the corresponding input-output machine. Last lesson, you guys were given this understanding of what the input-output machine was doing to each number. If we have the table, we can actually work backwards to find out what the machine was doing. So it's actually figuring out what goes in these 2 spaces. So the way that we do this is, so first of all, we're going to take a look at our input-output machine. So the first thing we want to make sure is that our my input goes up by 1 every time. So we don't want to have large gaps. Otherwise, that kind of messes with the way that we figure this out. And then we want to make sure that the output goes up or down by the same amount each time. So each time here, it is going up by 4. So then I have to try and figure out what is going on. So I'm going to think the pattern rule for output is start at 1, and then each time I add 4. Okay, so the output increases by 4. That's giving us a clue as to what to do. However much my output increases by, that is what I multiply by. That is the very, very first thing that I'm going to do, is I'm going to multiply by whatever my output increases by. So you'll see here, I'm going to multiply by 4. Then what we're going to do is we are going to look at the input. And we're going to try and figure out, well, how do I get to that input number or output number given a specific output? So they did this for input 2. So if I have input 2, I know that my input is 2 and my output is 5. So I'm going to multiply my input by 4. So 2 times 4 is equal to 8. And this is what they are doing here. I'm just kind of talking it through. But I have to do something so that it equals 5 on the other end. And so I have to think, what happens to 8 to get to 5? And we're going to be adding and subtracting when we do this. So to go from 8 to 5, we need to subtract 3. Now, before we can just jump on board and make sure that that's what's going on, we should try a couple others. So my input, the same table is down here, so I'm going to use that table now. So let's use input 4. So 4 times 4 equals 16. It should equal 13 though. So can I subtract 3? Yeah, that works. Maybe I'll try 6 as well. 6 times 4 is 24. My goal answer is 21. That's my output. Does minus 3 get me to 21? Yes, it does. So as I go through this process, I can double check all of these to make sure that when I'm doing this, my input and my output is following that same rule. So the rule that this machine is following is that I have my input, and then I'm going to multiply by 4. Whatever I get, I'm going to subtract 3, and it's going to give me my output on the other side. So I have a collection of practice questions for you. Please give them a try. If you have any issues, please let me know, and we can work through them.